Hello everyone, my name is Daniel, I'm just a casual racer, and today I have a preview that Motorsport Games has so kindly given me access to of their newest DLC pack for Le Mans Ultimate. And so that's what we're going to be doing here. We're going to be doing a quick 10-minute race in Le Mans Ultimate. I'm going to be driving the Lamborghini Hypercar, which is included in their new DLC pack for $13. It includes the Lamborghini Hypercar, the new Peugeot Hypercar with the rear wing, and also this track here, Imola. There's also a new free BMW hypercar that's been added. And so in the short race, I'll kind of give you my impressions of those cars and, of course, also of this circuit. I mean, this game obviously is lacking the most in racetracks and circuit options. And so I think the biggest attraction to a lot of people is going to be Imola. I mean, I don't even know. I think a lot of people are going to say, do we even need two more hypercars? I think a lot of people would have preferred either just tracks or two tracks and one car, for example. It's, you know, a decent amount of money for just 3 pieces of content. There are more expensive games, you know, iRacing, but it's also generally higher than even a lot of like the mod studios are doing for Assetto Corsa, or even like the officially licensed content that I've developed with Authentic Simulation for Assetto Corsa, like our Rush SR and Belo Horizonte tracks, which we retail for $4 each, and then in a bundle together for $6 for both. This works out to, you know, a little over $4 for each piece of content. So, not the most affordable pack in terms of like the best value, but it's also not the most expensive either. So let's look at, I guess, the details you are going to get. I guess this first lap here, we can take a look at the track and navigate through traffic here. I'm back with the LMP2 cars. Definitely not very quick right now. Car down here. Chicane. You know, trackside details look quite good. Really like the trees. I think Le Mans Ultimate in general, you know, it's just a nice step up from R Factor 2 essentially. But it's like the very best of R Factor 2 with maybe a small improvement over that. But it was definitely at the end of R Factor 2's lifespan, there was definitely a huge difference between some of the very best content and some of the older content and worse content for the title, let alone some of the mods, which could range all over the place. So this is definitely in the higher end, which is great, right? So that's exciting to see. Visually, this fits in with Le Mans Ultimate. I think overall detail-wise, I mean, we look on the right and left here, just a lot of great details in the start-finish straight. And I think this track, as we get a little loose, adjust the brake bias forward just a little bit. Yeah, that feels a little better on the brakes. Pass these LMP2 cars here. Can. Oh, get that side. The Lamborghini, I'll talk a bit about the cars now. The Lamborghini here is more stable and definitely has more understeer characteristics than the other 2 new hypercars. The BMW has the most oversteer characteristics, and then I found the Peugeot to be kind of in between. That would probably be my go-to of the new 3 cars in the pack. It's definitely still got a little bit more oversteer than some of the other hypercars that have existed, but there's definitely a controllability of it. You do wrestle a bit, especially if you're pushing really hard, but at the same time, it seems to be quite fair in the way it handles. The BMW, I would say, is almost a little too aggressive, and I'm sure you can dial that out in the setup. So much of this stuff is setup related when cars are this similar to the driving style, but I'm just saying in the stock experience that I had over the last, day and a half that I've had this pack for early access so that I could test it out and, get a few videos out for you guys. Work our way around here. Get around this LMP2 car. We should be fine on this front straight here. Power. The Lamborghini, I'll be honest though, the more I drive it, it's quite forgiving. It could be a good car for newer drivers, for the hypercars, I think, because it's not snappy and quite stable. I will say you definitely want to push that. Yeah. See, that feels so much better than the last time. Definitely, and I already had the brake bias more forward than the base setup. So you're definitely going to want to push the brake bias forward, at least when you're getting comfortable with cars. I'm not the fastest esports racer or anything like that. I'm more of a software developer than anything, and sometimes do YouTube videos. So, not the fastest around here, but I will say that I do think this car would be quite good for a lot of beginners. I think that are just jumping into the Ultimate. I'm gonna try to squeeze around the Ferrari here. Ferrari looks so good. I honestly think these hypercars look so good. Also, I mean, if LMP2 cars look great too. Just this Le Mans Ultimate, I mean, it has incredible force feedback, amazing physics. It's positioned so well with this license, and honestly, a narrowing of the focus from R Factor 2. You know, essentially, this is the successor to R Factor 2. It really is setting itself up well. I mean, generally, right, people are going to race GT3 cars. Maybe sometimes they jump in prototypes, and that's exactly what this game offers. That's what like 75-80% of sim racers are looking for. And I know there's another 10% of that hates that fact. Like, no, anything but GT3 cars, right? But at the same time, for a developer like Motorsports Games, this was actually a smart decision. I know there's a lot of other stuff going on, and they're outside factors, financial factors, but to focus in and make sure that their GT3 and Le Mans license and endurance racing license game turned out well, I think was important. It's going to really the season pass pricing at the time of recording this, I don't know what that is going to be, and I think the pricing of that is going to be the make it or break it for a lot of people, because like I said, if you break it out, there's going to be like, what, 5 packs? Break it out, let's say they cut that, give a slight discount, it's like $50, even with a slight discount for all the content. And that seems really steep when the game costs $45 to initially purchase it. So, and we get the power down. Really closing in here, feeling quite comfortable in this car. Yeah, I mean, actually having driven this, I drove this earlier for a race, and I wasn't feeling quite as comfortable as I am now. But I've also driven, then I drove the Peugeot after that. And I would say coming back to this now, you definitely feel the stability, but I actually really quite like the way this feels. Yeah, these cars are good. I wonder, it's a strange choice, right? Oh my goodness. I get the Lamborghini though. If this is actually like the realistic handling characteristics, which I'm sure Ultimate has as much detail as anyone has in terms of a software developer into the inner workings of the hypercars and what those cars require and things like that, and what their data putting out by the drivers, and maybe they've even worked with test drivers on the feeling of the cars. So I'm sure that's the Lamborghini, that's why it drives like this. But I would say that comparing the BMW being the free car that people are going to get and being a little more tricky to drive, people might be a little hesitant, oh, that's quite hard to drive. And when in comparison, actually the two cars in the DLC pack are much easier to drive, actually, at least in my opinion. Especially, well, I guess one thing I did do, now that I note this, I'm speaking on the driving, the biggest difference I have between now and earlier is I have the brake bias a lot, like 3.5 clicks forward. So that makes quite a big difference. Got a flat spot, my feel it to the steering wheel. Kind of annoying. I think I locked up trying to avoid the Ferrari there. Half a lap ago. Got a slow thing going on here. Get the power down, get to the inside. Got some good racing. I like how the AI can be set up good. I've got a pretty good balance here. It's challenging, but also, you know, I can still race with it. And if I raced more in Le Mans Ultimate, I would definitely get quicker and be able to run near the front with these guys. Alright, come on. I really want to get by this Ferrari. Oh, there was a stutter there. Generally, my computer runs pretty well with this. Not recording on this PC, so it's just running on a single screen, although my triple screens are up. But it's also at the same time not the smoothest. Like, I do have frame drops and stutters here and there. So, yeah, definitely one that I think requires a bit of a better PC, and might also still, just because of its kind of early access state for Le Mans Ultimate, might just be a game that kind of drops some stutters while they continue to drop some frames and has some stutters while they continue to develop it. Look at the inside here. Stay blind. Try to get a good run. I see some cars. Looks like they're locking up a little bit themselves. I like that. AI is quite good in Le Mans Ultimate, in my opinion. I mean, tremendously better over R Factor 2, which I think is some of the worst AI, in my experience, of any racing game. Le Mans Ultimate is quite passable. Yeah. So, turning our focus back more directly to the... Come on, no! We're damaged. Got a pull. That wasn't very good on my part. But turning our focus back to the... Come on, go past me. Oh, the Ferrari's trying to take a chance. Wrestling this thing, man. Yeah, overall, do I think this pack is worth getting? If you really enjoy Le Mans Ultimate and you really like the hypercars, and you want some more hypercars to recycle through, or maybe you're a big Peugeot or Lamborghini fan, then I think for sure this is probably worth it. You are getting another track in the bundle, but being the fact that it's only one track, I guess then the other option would be if you really like Imola, then of course, yeah, this bundle's probably worth it. If you're not, though, if you're not as much into the hypercars, maybe you're more into the GT3 cars, you really like the LMP2 car like I do, then you're probably going to be looking not as eagerly at this pack, right? And so I think then at that point, maybe you start looking, okay, what is the season pass like? What's it going to be for all of the 2024 DLC content? Do I want to wait till it goes on sale? And that might be the most viable course. I think overall, everything's been extremely well done. I think the content is not rushed. It fits perfectly within the Le Mans Ultimate game. There's nothing that I can say negative about this pack. It's just whether it's going to be value for the price for you, and whether you'll get use out of it, or whether it's worth waiting for a sale, or whether that's on the individual content or on the season pass or whatever. So that's kind of my best opinion that I can give on this. Yeah, but I think Le Mans Ultimate did a really nice job. I think this shot right here, the details just are really, really nice on this circuit. Is one of the better... I don't want to know if it's the best, but is one of a couple of Le Mans Ultimate. I would say this looks better than Assetto Corsa Competizione Imola. I also think this renders better. I mean, Assetto Corsa Competizione being on the Unreal Engine does have a lot of limitations within the way things load in. You don't have that with the R Factor 2 engine, the ISI game engine that R Factor 2 is built on and that Le Mans Ultimate is built on. So that, I think, helps this circuit. I also just think there's a lot of great details. This circuit feels really alive and looks really nice. Get a nice run out of this. Go. Alrighty, nice run out of the corner. I think this will be it. The race will finish at the line here. We may have one more lap. Nope, that's it. Alrighty, so that is Le Mans Ultimate's first DLC pack with Imola, the Peugeot, and the Lamborghini hypercars. So if you haven't bought Le Mans Ultimate, I would say that you wait and get Le Mans Ultimate by itself first, unless there's some sort of bundle deal, and try that out. Especially try out the hypercars. Because if you don't get on with hypercars because they're a little tricky and a unique driving experience, then this pack holds a lot less value, and it really comes down to how much value does one more track, being Imola, bring to the table for a big Imola fan. Or you really like the hypercars, and this pack seems like something that I could recommend. Otherwise, it's probably, as I often do with a lot of content, wait for a sale, wait for a bundle discount. It's often the best way. A lot of times discounts do get come out relatively quickly with a lot of racing games and just Steam games in general. So I think that's something to keep your eye out. Overall, I will say that this entire pack has been done very well by Motorsports Games, and I think it was a really good experience. I'm appreciative that they were able to send this over to me for free for me to preview to all of you. And of course, you can say I'm biased, or you can just take my word for what it is, which is just another member of the sim racing community who also happens to be a software developer, and I kind of have unique insights from my perspective, and you should definitely listen to other people who've got their hands on early access copies of this, and definitely listen to what they think about this, and then make your own decision based upon that. Don't rush into anything. That's the best way to make sure you'll enjoy something and don't have any regrets. So, hopefully this video was helpful. Most of all, I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your week.